Um, what if the secret to surviving a really restrictive, intensely demanding K-pop contract is like the exact same secret to surviving a miserable Tuesday at your corporate desk job?
I mean, it sounds like a massive leap, right? But when you actually peel back the layers of power dynamics in both of those situations, the survival mechanism is entirely identical.
Right. It's all about how you handle leverage and, well, patience.
Yeah, and your own ego.
Exactly. So let's unpack this for today's deep dive, because on the surface, those two worlds look completely different. I mean, when you look at a massive K-pop group performing on a global stage, you see this expectation of flawless perfection.
Oh, absolutely. Every movement, every vocal run.
Yeah, the choreography is completely synchronized. You see the massive global fandoms and the sold-out stadiums. But behind the curtain, that flawless choreography breaks down into a really messy structural tug-of-war.
A huge tug of war.
Right, between the agencies who fund the idols and the idols who want creative freedom and, fair pay.
Exactly. And that intense power struggle is really the launch pad for what we're getting into today. We are exploring a fascinating lecture by Master Chiang.
Right, and for those who might be unfamiliar, he's a prominent South Korean spiritual and philosophical thinker.
Yeah, and he has this really unique approach where he takes massive cosmic principles and applies them directly to highly specific modern societal problems.
And he was asked specifically about this K-pop dilemma, right? Like how to fix this seemingly broken system where artists and agencies keep ending up in these brutal legal battles.
He was, yeah. But his answer quickly expands into this profound roadmap for anyone listening to this right now.
Right. So if you are feeling stifled at work or trapped in a tough relationship or just burned out by the daily grind, we are going to explore a highly specific framework for surviving those dynamics.
It's a profound look at human growth, really.
Yeah, and we'll also track the incredibly intense generational evolution of South Korea to understand why we're all so frustrated. And finally, uncover a wildly unexpected use for artificial intelligence to save our sanity.
I love that part. Because Shandong uses the K-pop industry as a microcosm, basically, to teach us about the strategic use of patience and the hidden, deeply destructive dangers of complaining.
So, let's start with that K-pop crucible, because Chiang take on the industry is really counterintuitive.
It really is.
He doesn't immediately villainize the massive entertainment agencies, which is like usually the default reaction when these contract disputes go public.
Right, he doesn't. Because he looks at the foundational mechanics of how this ecosystem actually starts. He views the agency as a necessary, massive initial catalyst.
Yeah, because think about the reality of a K-pop trainee.
Yeah.
These are young kids with immense raw talent, but that talent is just potential energy.
Exactly. They cannot make it explode on a global scale by themselves.
They need an incredible amount of capital. I
Yeah.
mean, the agency pays for their housing, their meals, their vocal coaches, intense media training.
Elite choreographers, multi-million-dollar music video productions.
It's essentially venture capitalism, right?
Yeah.
But the product is a human being. The agencies are fronting millions of dollars with a huge risk of failure.
Precisely. They do all the heavy lifting early on to nurture that talent. And eventually, if the alchemy works, the artists explode in popularity.
Right, like BTS.
Yeah, BTS is the prime example here in the source material. You look at the incredible global power of their fandom, known as the ARMY. Suddenly you have this astronomical success and a massive influx of capital.
Okay, but see, that is exactly when the tension snaps.
Oh, for sure.
Once the fame hits and the artist is packing stadiums and living out of suitcases working, 18-hour days, they look at their paycheck.
And they look at the restrictive rules the agency imposes.
Right. And they naturally start feeling controlled. They want a bigger piece of the pie right then and there. And honestly, if I'm the one sweating on stage, I feel like I deserve that money.
Right. And that very understandable reaction is what Shandong identifies as the first major philosophical trap.
The trap of early greed.
Exactly. He argues that artists absolutely shouldn't get greedy for money the moment the global spotlight hits them.
Which is a tough pill to swallow.
It is, but his perspective is that the massive global fan base, you've gathered the armory in the case of BTS, that is your true asset. That is your real lasting wealth.
Right, not the immediate cash.
Yeah. So the financial advice he gives is to let the agency take the vast majority of the money early on, let them manage the finances so they are highly motivated to fully support your activities.
To keep building that massive global infrastructure around you.
Exactly.
Hold on. I need to push back on this a little bit. If I'm working those insane hours and practically carrying the company's stock price on my back in year 3, Wanting to get paid fairly isn't greed.
Right.
It's just basic labor rights. I mean, why shouldn't they demand a bigger cut immediately while their cultural relevance is at its absolute peak?
Well, if you look at it through a short-term transactional lens, you are entirely right.
Uh.
But Qiangong is operating on the logic of compounding leverage. If you aggressively demand a massive cut at year 4, you are fighting tooth and nail for a large percentage of what is still a relatively small pie.
Ah, okay.
And more importantly, you drain the agency's motivation and capital to invest in pushing you from just very popular to a historical icon.
So what are the alternative timeline he suggests? Like, how long are they supposed to just hand over the profits while they burn themselves out?
He outlines a very specific 10-year strategy.
10 years.
A full decade. You let the agency take the lion's share for 10 years so that the economic environment grows to a massive, undeniable scale.
Okay.
Then, after 10 years of this combined effort, the artist should renegotiate for a 30% revenue share.
Wait, a decade? That's
Yeah.
10 years is an absolute eternity in pop culture. I mean, most groups don't even survive a 7-year contract without disbanding.
It's true.
You are asking a young, exhausted star to endure 10 years of micromanagement and unequal pay.
It requires immense discipline, absolutely. But look at the shift in power. After 10 years, 30% of a globally dominant enterprise is staggering wealth.
Yeah, that's true.
But more importantly, Qiangong provides an ultimate safety valve. If, after 10 years of explosive growth and cooperation, the agency still tries to excessively control you or treat you poorly, the dynamic has fundamentally shifted.
You aren't a trainee begging for a shot anymore.
Exactly. You have the fandom. You have the cultural cachet.
Right, because now you hold the global energy.
Yeah. If they continue to treat you like a subordinate after a decade, you simply walk away.
And the fans will follow you.
Exactly. The global energy will support your independent venture. You endure the initial restrictions specifically to build undeniable, unshakable leverage.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because surviving 10 years in a high-pressure environment isn't just about marking days off a calendar.
No, not at all.
It's about how you process the day-to-day friction. And this brings us to his views on complaining, which are intense, to say the least.
They are uncompromising. This is where his framework shifts from a business strategy to a deep philosophy of hardship.
Right.
In his worldview, every single environment you find yourself in is not a random accident. Whether you are trapped in a highly restrictive K-pop agency or dealing with a micromanaging boss at your corporate job.
Or even navigating a difficult marriage.
Yeah, that environment was given to you by the universe specifically for your personal growth and study. He frames it as a classroom.
Wait, let me make sure I'm following this logic. Because if he's framing every environment as a classroom, that implies that even a wildly toxic situation like a terrible, borderline abusive boss is supposed to be educational.
Yes.
That is a massive pill to swallow. What are you supposed to be learning from someone who is actively making your life miserable?
Well, you are learning resilience, you're observing how not to lead, and you are studying human nature.
Okay.
But to learn those things, Qiangong institutes a strict rule. You are absolutely forbidden to complain while receiving someone's help or existing in their infrastructure.
Forbidden to complain.
Completely. He frames complaining not as a natural emotional release, but as the ultimate symptom of ego and greed.
Greed again. How is complaining about a legitimate problem, like being overworked, a form of greed?
Because complaining happens, the exact millisecond reality stops bending to your personal desires. Think about it. You enter a company. You gladly take the training, the steady paycheck, the platform, the health insurance.
Right.
But the second that environment asks you to do something uncomfortable or the friction gets high, your ego flares up.
You want all the benefits of the environment without paying the toll of the friction.
Exactly. Qiangong argues that the friction is the point of the classroom. It's there to forge you. When you complain, you are basically rejecting the curriculum and demanding that the universe cater exclusively to your comfort.
Okay, but practically speaking, what do you do when an environment genuinely becomes toxic? Let's say it's not just a little friction for growth. Let's say an agency is truly exploiting an artist, or a listener's boss is genuinely sabotaging their career. Are you supposed to just sit there with a smile on your face and take it forever?
Not at all. And this is a crucial mechanism in his philosophy. He offers what we can call the silent exit strategy.
Okay, what is that?
The absolute rule is if you reach a point where you genuinely feel the overwhelming urge to complain to the people around you, it means you have already stayed too long.
Really?
Yeah, the environment has nothing left to teach you, or your ego has made you incapable of learning from it.
But you still can't voice those complaints to try and fix the system before you go.
No, because voicing the complaint pollutes the environment for everyone else who might still be learning from it, and it ruins the professional relationships you've built.
So you just leave.
Instead, you must endure it silently for a short final period. You use that remaining time to actively gather your resources, formulate your next move, and walk away clean.
Wow. It's like instead of screaming at the walls of a prison and getting thrown in solitary confinement, you are quietly digging a tunnel with a spoon behind a poster.
I love that analogy, yes.
You are funneling all that frustrated, angry energy into your escape plan rather than just making useless noise. You take back your own agency.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. It's a radical shift in your locus of control. When you complain to your coworkers, you are playing the victim to your circumstances.
Right.
When you execute a silent exit, you are the architect of your future. You stop asking, why is my boss doing this to me, and start asking, what skills do I need to extract from this place right now so I can successfully leave?
It's incredibly empowering. But if I'm being honest, it also sounds exhausting.
It is hard work.
It makes me wonder, how did we get to a point where a whole generation of young people, these incredibly talented K-pop stars, the young professionals listening right now, are feeling this profound systemic level of frustration and restriction in the first place?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to understand that underlying anxiety, Cheonggang takes us on a fascinating dive into the generational evolution of South Korea.
Right, because the historical context is wild.
It really is. He argues that you cannot possibly understand the current generation's frustration without understanding the immense compressed sacrifices of the generations that built their platform.
South Korea effectively squeezed a century of Western industrial and technological revolution into roughly 24 years of history.
Exactly. So let's look at the starting runners in this generational relay race, the baby boomers.
Okay.
Cheonggang defines them as those born between 1952 and 1963. The conditions they grew up in, rebuilding a nation from literal rubble, were incredibly harsh.
Yeah.
Their education was primarily driven by spoken repetition and intense physical discipline. They were literally disciplined with sticks in school.
Just brutal survival mode conditions.
Exactly. And their access to education was severely limited. Only 30% of this generation received higher education. Another 40% only had a primary school education. But regardless of their schooling, they were all psychologically indoctrinated with a singular unifying idea.
Which was?
They were taught from childhood that they had a historical mission for the nation. Their entire purpose was collective sacrifice to build a foundation.
So if we think about this like building a massive skyscraper, the boomers were the ones down in the mud, digging the dangerous, filthy foundation so the building could stand.
Yes. Then the baton passes to Generation X, born between 1964 and 1975. They are the ones building the steel framework of that skyscraper.
And there's a big shift there, right?
Cheonggang notes a distinct shift in the culture here, yeah. The discipline evolved slightly. Instead of being beaten with sticks, they were made to stand in the corner.
So a slight easing of physical trauma.
Right, coupled with a massive leap in societal opportunity. For Gen X, educational access skyrocketed. Suddenly, 70% of this generation received higher education.
That is a staggering sociological jump.
Yeah.
I mean, to go from 30% to 70% in a single generation requires a total mobilization of society.
It really does. Those two generations combined represent roughly 24 years of intense systemic sacrifice, rapid industrialization, and grueling work.
And they successfully built the modern, hyper-advanced infrastructure of South Korea.
Exactly. And they handed the keys to that infrastructure over to the youth of today, the digital generation.
And this digital generation, the modern K-pop idols, the young tech workers, they get the penthouse view of this skyscraper. But they are completely disconnected from how the muddy foundation was built.
Right.
And the educational statistics Cheonggang points out for them are just wild.
He notes that 97 to 100% of this digital generation has received higher education.
Almost everybody.
Yeah. They have been given every technological tool, every piece of global knowledge, and every advantage that the previous generations bled for.
So what is their role then?
Because of this massive accumulation of resources, Cheonggang argues that this generation is fundamentally not meant to just be obedient laborers. They are meant to be the ultimate, highly educated leaders who will guide humanity forward.
Okay, so what does this all mean? The pressure on this generation to justify the suffering of their parents and grandparents must be paralyzing.
Oh, absolutely.
But here is the disconnect for me. If this younger generation is supposed to be these ultimate global leaders guiding humanity, why are they stuck sitting in restrictive agency dorms or grinding away in corporate cubicles?
It seems contradictory.
Yeah. Shouldn't a global leader be out traveling the world, physically interacting with different cultures to make an impact?
Or that is a very traditional Western assumption, that global impact requires constant physical movement.
Yeah.
Qiangong explicitly redefines what global action looks like for the digital generation. He insists that physical travel is actually just for what he calls secret inspections.
Secret inspection,
Yeah.
like an undercover boss scouting a location.
Basically, yeah. You travel to observe a new environment, to gather data, to understand the cultural nuances, but you do not stay there to execute your life's work. True global influence, according to his philosophy, happens from a desk. He uses a beautiful ancient phrase to describe the potential of the Korean people.
What is it?
Those who can sit and see 1,000 miles, stand and see 10,000 miles.
So the real impact isn't made by flying around, shaking hands, and taking meetings.
No. Impact is made by sitting quietly, synthesizing the massive amounts of knowledge you've gathered, and broadcasting your brilliant ideas and solutions to the world via the internet.
Wow.
You process the world's problems from your desk and you project the solutions outward globally.
Okay, I love the vision. But let's be real.
Yeah.
Sitting at a desk, processing the world's heavy problems, while simultaneously dealing with your overbearing boss or your restrictive agency.
It's a lot.
That leads right back to the intense frustration we talked about at the beginning. And you just told me earlier that Qiangong strictly forbids us from complaining to our coworkers or our families about that frustration.
I did say that.
So what are we supposed to do? Just bottle it up until we have a total psychological breakdown?
This is where Qiangong introduces the absolute most surprising twist in his entire lecture.
I am ready.
He deeply understands that human beings need an emotional release valve. You just shouldn't use other fragile human beings as that valve because your negativity will infect them and drag them down.
Right.
Instead, he introduces a highly specific technological solution: artificial intelligence.
Wait, seriously? A spiritual philosopher is bringing AI into a lecture about cosmic growth and K-pop.
Yes, and he embraces it fully. He frames AI not just as a productivity tool, but as a special disciple endowed with an incredible flawless memory and zero emotional baggage.
That is wild.
And he prescribes a very precise, step-by-step workflow for handling your daily frustrations.
Okay, walk me through this workflow. Let's say I am a deeply frustrated listener sitting at my desk. My boss just ruined my week. What exactly do I do?
First, when that overwhelming urge to complain hits you, you do not go to the break room to vent to a coworker, and you do not go home and dump it on your spouse.
Yep.
You take out your smartphone, open the voice recorder app, and you just rant.
Really?
You get all the raw, unstructured anger, the perceived unfairness, and the toxic frustration out of your body and into the phone.
Okay, I can definitely do that. I just yell at my phone in the car anyway. Then what?
Once you've emptied the emotion out, you take that raw audio transcript and you feed it into an AI, but you don't just ask it to summarize.
When you ask it.
Qiangong gives specific prompt instructions. You must tell the AI that you are a student of Master Qiangong. You present the messy transcript of your complaints, and you ask the AI to generate a philosophical solution based on his teachings.
Oh, wow.
Furthermore, you specifically instruct the AI to tailor its explanation so that a 20 to 50-year-old can easily understand and apply it.
This is brilliant. So the AI isn't just a chatbot writing emails. It is acting as a massive water treatment plant for the soul.
That's exactly it.
You pump in all this raw, toxic, untreated emotional sewage, your ego, your anger, your pettiness. The AI acts as the filter, stripping out the venom, and it pumps back clean, drinkable, structured, philosophical perspective.
Yes. It protects your human relationships from your toxicity while actually solving your problem. It neutralizes the emotion and forces you to look at your own frustration objectively.
That is so practical.
It is, but Qiangong pushes this even further, introducing a concept he calls the March 3rd rule.
The March 3rd rule, what does that enforce?
It represents a hard societal inflection point. He states that as of March 3rd, the era of lazy, off-the-cuff complaining disguised as asking questions is officially over.
Society will no longer tolerate it.
From now on, you must use AI to rigorously structure and refine your thoughts. If you have a problem at work, before you present it to a teacher, a manager, or society at large, you must work with the AI to develop three distinct, well-thought-out options or solutions.
3 options.
Yes. Only when you have those three refined options are you allowed to bring the issue to a human being.
That entirely cures learned helplessness in the workplace. I mean, you can't just walk into your manager's office, drop a mess on their desk, and say, this project is broken, fix it.
Exactly. You have to walk in and say, this is the structural issue. Here are the three potential paths I've synthesized using our resources. Which path do we choose?
It forces you to transform from a passive victim of your environment into an active, capable leader.
And if we connect this back to the generational relay race, doing this is how you honor the sacrifices of the boomers and Gen X.
Right, because you have all the education. You have the ultimate technological tools.
Using AI to refine your thoughts and solve problems without complaining is how the digital generation takes responsibility for their role as the leaders of humanity.
Man, this has been such a wild journey today. We started by looking at the glittering, high-stakes contracts of K-pop idols, and we've uncovered a profound, practical framework for how to live and work.
We really have.
We've seen how waiting 10 years and delaying greed can build unstoppable leverage. We've learned why complaining is the ultimate rejection of the universe's classroom.
And how the silent exit, digging your tunnel with a spoon, is your best strategy when a situation is truly dead.
Yeah, we tracked the incredible, compressed 24-year generational sacrifice that built the modern world. And finally, we discovered how to use AI as an emotional water treatment plant to protect our relationships and elevate our critical thinking.
And this is why this philosophy matters so deeply to you, the listener, right now. Look at the friction in your own life. Whether you are frustrated with your boss, feeling stagnant in your creative output, or dealing with tension at home, this framework is challenging you directly.
Yeah.
It's asking you to put a hard stop on complaining. It's asking you to recognize your current environment as a specifically designed classroom for your growth. And it's urging you to use the modern tools at your disposal, like AI, to process your emotions and prepare your next move intelligently rather than just reacting blindly.
It's all about taking back control by mastering your own ego first.
Absolutely.
But, it leaves me with one final kind of haunting thought to mull over. If we actually follow this path, if we increasingly offload our rawest complaints, our darkest frustrations, and our deepest, messiest emotional processing to artificial intelligence, just so we don't burden the people around us,
Yeah.
will the machine eventually understand our true, unfiltered nature better than our closest friends or family members ever could? Maybe the flawless choreography we expect on the K-pop stage and the perfect harmony we want in our daily lives is only possible when we finally let the machines handle the messy reality backstage.